it was announced today that the Beavs, your Oregon State Beavers football team, will be featured on the Pac-12 Network on a show called The Drive, which I have not seen, but I guess this is the third season coming up.
Yeah, you're going to follow them through camp?
Yeah, and it's kind of like this HBO Hard Knocks type of deal.
Yeah, like 24/7, just giving an inside look at what's going on in the first year under new coach Gary Anderson.
Let's get some info. Here is the executive producer of The Drive on Pac-12 Network, Michael Tolajian. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it.
All right,
guys.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us. I know, Michael, you've won a couple Emmys. You've worked on HBO Real Sports and with maybe NBA Entertainment in the past?
Yeah, I did work with NBA Entertainment. I did a 30 for 30 documentary called Once Brothers on Vlade Divac and Drazen Petrovic, their relationship back in the day. So I have a lot of experience doing these type of shows.
So why did the Beavers get chosen?
Each year we kind of look at the different teams and storylines, and I think anytime you have a situation where you have a new coach come in and all that's involved with kind of trying to establish their culture and winning ways, it's a dramatic story to see how they do it. Can they succeed? What obstacles they have to overcome. And with Coach Anderson, you also have a coach who's really understands these shows and what they can do to help establish a brand and raise expectations for both the fans and his own players to make them believe like, hey, we're as big of a program as anybody else. So, plus Coach Anderson, he was at Wisconsin. They had a similar type of all-access show that he did, so he knows what's involved, and he's very much supportive of it.
Yeah, with the Hard Knocks in the NFL, a lot of teams don't want to do it. What has been the general feedback for colleges kind of opening themselves up?
Well, I think you're seeing, in general, you're seeing more and more of this behind-the-curtain type of programming. So I think just each year, coaches and players are just more comfortable with it. Specifically for The Drive, now we've done, first year we did Arizona State and Cal. Last year we did UCLA. They've reaped very strong and direct rewards when it comes to not only extending the brand and entertaining their fans, but specifically helping with recruiting. I mean, all those coaches have stated that The Drive is instrumental in helping get word out to prospective high school student athletes about their program and have helped get on the radar for these kids as far as recruiting. So.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good exposure, but from your perspective as an executive producer, it's a little different. These shows are interesting to me because they walk a line of, certainly you're providing something that the school is interested in, like that exposure, like for recruiting, but you also get the people who don't want it too sanitized. They just tune in and they just look and they go, this is just an infomercial for Oregon State. I don't care. I'm out. You still have to make it compelling. So how do you do that? How do you balance that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you have to be very honest and upfront at the beginning and to tell the coaches and the staffs and the ADs, hey, this is what we'd like to do. This is what we're going to ask of you. We're going to ask you to put a microphone on during practice. We're going to ask you to put a microphone on in the locker room and on the sidelines. We're going to ask for some time to shoot features with the student athletes, with your families. We just want to make sure that they're aware of what we're doing. But at the same point, we're not HBO Real Sports where I work. We're not looking to, dig up dirt, But if something happens, of course, if there's a loss, if there's an injury, if there's some controversy, we have to report, I don't call it report, but we have to put it in the show. But the coaches can look at it as a way to get their side of things out for something that may happen. So, look, certainly we are in partnership with the teams. We have to do a show each week, so we don't want to, piss a coach off to where he doesn't want to do the show or give us any access. So it is a fine line, but we try to be very honest and upfront, and we try to, if you're not willing to do these things for this type of show, then don't do it. So I think that's the key, is kind of getting it all out there early on in the process.
So let's say you just catch some wrongdoing. Let's say you catch a bunch of dudes shooting up in the bathroom or something. I don't know.
That doesn't happen in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is completely outstanding student athletes.
Right.
Nothing like that ever happens.
Okay, so let's say you catch the ball boys deflating footballs below the proper PSI level.
Right.
Do you have to take that? Does Oregon State ultimately get to say, no, that's not going in the program?
Well, again, we will, if something like that were to happen, we're not going to just, stick it on the air without, making the team aware of it and going through the proper discussion with them about, hey, we have this stuff, we shot it. What do you think about it? Is there any concerns? What have you? I mean, sometimes there's things where they may have a high school kid on a recruiting visit, and you're not allowed to show those kids on a show because it can be a compliance thing. So there's things like that you have to be careful of. But we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot if we just threw something on there, like I said, and then the school's like, well, You're done. We're not doing a show with you anymore.
So do you have?
It's the same thing with Hard Knocks or 24/7.
Oh yeah.
It's all the same. So that kind of that comes with the territory a little bit. But like I said, we going into it, we say, hey, look, this is what the show is. If you're not comfortable with it, then maybe this is not the right time to do it.
So maybe you can't share these, but do you have a dicey moment from a situation in one of your 30/30s or HBO where you came across a problem like this?
I'm trying to think. Nothing huge. I mean, I think there's certainly times when in the heat of the battle of a game, a coach might get overly frustrated with a specific player and, really, kind of give him a hard time. And in that case, there's been situations like that where, the coach might say, hey, I don't want to call this one specific kid out on national TV. He's a young kid. He made a mistake, but I don't want to make him feel like he lost the game for us or something like that. They have to, they have a team to run. They have a certain vibe they have to keep on the team. So we try to be sensitive with things like that. But if a coach made a bad call at the end of the game, like certainly, Coach Carroll in the Super Bowl, if that were to happen, something like that were to happen with one of our teams, we're going to ask the coach, hey, what happened there? Why did that happen? What were you thinking? And, the fans will demand that.
So this will follow Oregon State all the way through fall camp, and then is first week of the season. And what's the scope?
So both the show will feature both Oregon State and Utah. So both teams will kind of be parallel cutting between both schools each episode. We'll start shooting in camp. I'm not sure exactly when the first episode will air, probably sometime in mid to late September. And then once that first episode airs, we will be on every single week, every Wednesday night from that point on, all the way up to the Pac-12 championship.
Our guest here is the executive producer of The Drive on Pac-12 Network, and this year it will feature Oregon State and Utah. His name is Michael Tolajian. Okay, so the two previous seasons, I haven't seen it. I don't have the Pac-12 Network. Who did you guys do the two previous years?
The first year, we also did two teams. We did Cal Bears and Arizona State, and then last year we focused mostly on UCLA.
Okay.
UCLA had a very strong season last year, as did Arizona State the first year we did it, and and we tell personal stories and more feature profiles on the student athletes, the coaches, and also get into their process. How do they prepare for each game, and how do they overcome tough losses and celebrate big wins. So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about what in the first two seasons. I just know from watching Hard Knocks, the feature stuff is cool. You can find a guy who's got a good story or who's an interesting cat. And that's one thing. But the thing I really love about the Hard Knocks show, and I wondered if The Drive has this, or what kind of feedback you've gotten in the first 2 years of what really resonates with people, is the behind the scenes, coaches talking to players, in office type of stuff, or group meetings and stuff. That stuff is fascinating as a fan. Is that stuff all a part of it?
Certainly. It is. I mean, it depends on the person who's watching. Some people respond more to those feature elements, the backstory of these kids who may have, overcome something in their childhood, or, that type of thing. Some people say, "Oh, I love that about it," but then there's other fans like yourself where it's a little bit more of the inside of the process of how they run their meetings, how they game plan. Others love. I think pretty much everyone loves to hear the raw, in the moment emotion of what a coach might say at halftime, whether he's happy or pissed off, or what he might say at the end of the game when he hands the game ball to the unsung hero. I mean, last year with UCLA, we shot a game where Brett Hundley got hurt. And then their backup quarterback, Jerry Neuheisel, who rarely plays, came in against Texas in Texas Stadium, led them back to a victory, and we were there to capture it. It depends on the viewer, but I think those real moments everyone responds to.
Well, when does it begin airing?
Like I said, it'll start airing in September. We don't have the exact week yet, but I would say mid to late September it will be the first episode that'll kind of encapsulate training camp and the preseason. Both Utah and Oregon State in the non-conference part of their season play Michigan, which is pretty interesting.
Right.
And then, of course, the conference play kicks off September 26th, and we'll be off and rolling
I love
at that
it.
point.
Well, we'll look forward to it. Check it out on Pac-12 Network. Oregon State and Utah will be featured on a show called The Drive. The executive producer, Michael Tolajian. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate talking about the show and look forward to talking to you guys again come the fall.
You bet. Yeah, good luck with it. Appreciate it. Yeah, and also another little interesting nugget about Oregon State and Utah is that their coaches are buddies. Gary Anderson and Kyle Whittingham.
Yep.
They have a long history together.
Yeah, they were kind of cut their teeth in the same area, and Gary Anderson was I think he was the defensive line coach under Kyle Whittingham when he was the defensive coordinator at Utah, and that was back when I played. Gary Anderson he was the defensive line coach when I was at BYU back in the 90s, so very familiar guys.